Welcome back to the Armchair Coaching Podcast. This is Coach Sheffer. I am the offensive line coach at Brentsville District High School in Nokesville, Virginia. And we have another couple great guests today. But real quick, if you are viewing this on YouTube, please like and follow us, like and subscribe. If you're interested in listening to this in podcast form, we are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, as well as many other platforms. You can find that in the description below. Okay, so today is a little bit different. I have two guests instead of the traditional one guest, and they come as a package because they are the guys who run the Meshpoint Podcast. And it's a podcast that I am quickly becoming a huge fan of. I have already subscribed to it, and I would suggest everybody to look it up on Twitter. So first up, we've got Coach Matt McLeod. And you are currently at Lafayette High School in Williamsburg, Virginia?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right. And you are he's the QB and linebackers coach. And we also have Coach Rodriguez, and he is currently at Enterprise, Alabama, coaching under, you may have heard this name, Rick Darlington, as the wide receivers coach. He runs 3-Phase Football on Twitter, as well as the Meshpoint Monday chat on Twitter as well. So you guys are probably very familiar with these guys. So thank you, coaches, for coming on to our podcast tonight.
No, it's our pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us on.
All right, guys. So we're going to just go ahead and jump into it. This is a question that I ask all of my guests. I'm very interested in everybody's story. Every coach has their own very unique story, their very unique path. Can you guys, and Coach McLeod, I'm going to give you first shot at this. Can you tell us your coaching journey? Basically, how did you end up where you are now?
So I'm from a little town outside of Clemson and played football there. Started in college as a wildlife biologist. Wanted to be a natural resource officer, and then my sophomore year of college, the professor came in and said, well, you got two options. You can go to the laboratory and be inside all day, or you can try to be a natural resources officer, but the median age of those guys is like 50. So you got some waiting time, right? So it's like, no, I'm not going to be inside my whole life wearing a lab coat. So had some influential coaches in my life. And so I switched over to education and finished it out. And in South Carolina, you can get a degree in education. So at Clemson, so graduated degree in education. And then I was fortunate enough to start coaching at Clemson, and kind of went down that road and spent a lot of years in college. And then my last 6 or 7 was at William & Mary, which is why I'm here in Williamsburg. My wife fell in love with the place, and we started a family here, and I started coaching high school football, 12 years ago, I guess, 11 years ago, something like that. I was at Deep Run High School up by Short Putt Mall in Richmond, and then came closer to Williamsburg at Grafton High School down at Yorktown, and then and now I'm at Lafayette. So we love Williamsburg. I'm still here 20 years later. So.
Yeah, it's a beautiful town. My family, we actually had a vacation down there about a year ago, and I liked it. I could tell why you like it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Coach Rodriguez. You like this place?
Oh yeah, Coach Rodriguez. How about you?
Me, I'm a Florida boy. I'm born and raised in Tampa, Florida area my whole life, and I'm kind of a guy who started college late. I graduated high school, and all I really wanted to do was go to work Monday through Friday, 40 hours a week, and go fishing on Saturday and Sundays. You know what I mean? That's really what I aspired to do. Then I got out there in the real world, just didn't really have any skills. So the jobs I was getting was really bad. And I was like, man, this has got to change, and so I was a late bloomer to college. And but once I got it going, I was able to, I think I graduated when I was 31 years old or something like that. I wasn't a really good student in high school. Anyway, long story short, it just took me a long time working and going to college, and I finally graduated. But one thing that really inspired me to go to college was I started coaching youth football. And I was like, man, you know, when you're like 18, 19, 20, you're trying to figure the world out. What are you going to do, you know? And I started coaching youth football, and I was like, man, this is what I'm excited about, you know? And like Coach said, coaches inspired him in his life. Same thing with me. You know, I really looked up to my high school coaches, and I wanted to kind of be like them, to be honest with you. And so I did what it took and went to college, got the degree, and so I can teach and coach, you know. And how did I get to Alabama, right? So I coached at a school down in Florida called East Bay High School most of my career, and I joined the FFCA. That's the Fired Football Coaches Association, right? In like 2018, and then I went over to another school called Riverview High School, coached there for a couple of years, and we did really well last year. But I just got an opportunity. Coach Darlington called me up, and I wanted to run some triple option, and you know, you only live life once, right? YOLO. We just kind of jumped on and took the adventure, and my wife was excited about it. So that's kind of how I got here. You know what I mean? And it's kind of a crazy story. So it's been fun though. So far, we're 3-0. We're doing well, and it's been a nice blend, man. Of you know, he's known as a single wing guy. And we're running some flex bone triple options, some gun stuff. I mean, it's a pretty cool opportunity and experience. You know, hopefully, my goal is I want to be a head football coach one day. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm hoping is the experience I'm gaining will allow me to do that one day. So.
All right. Well, those are very interesting stories, both of you. It just proves my point that everyone has a very unique coaching story. Nobody's coaching story is exactly the same. You guys both run the Meshpoint Podcast. And could you tell the listeners the story behind how that particular podcast started?
Well, I think Tony mentioned before Tinder, right? But no, I run a site called flexbonenation.com. And, you know, Tony and I had some interaction there. And then, of course, he runs his Meshpoint Monday chat. So between that and going back and forth, talking on the phone, and then, of course, Tony created our Telegram option chat, which, I mean, gosh, we stay on forever, don't we, Tony? Like all crazy.
Got a low-key underground Telegram, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So,
triple option Colts and stuff, you know what I mean?
We're on there till, you know, wee hours of the morning, and you know, just developed friendship. And I think Tony, you were the one that said, hey, we should do didn't you? I'm pretty sure one night late, hey, we should do a podcast. This would be a great podcast or something. I was like, yeah, maybe so, right? So
hey, give it a shot, man. I know, Coach, you like to listen to a lot of podcasts though too, right? I mean, so, you know, we're like, the whole thing behind Meshpoint Monday, the whole thing behind the Meshpoint Podcast, that just everything we're doing it's kind of like we're in this generation where everybody's gun, RPO, crazy, right? And we just want something out there for guys like us. You know what I mean? We don't think it's even old school. You know, a lot of people think this offense is old school or whatever, but we want to kind of show that there's a lot of new school to it. You know what I mean? And how there's a lot of great coaches out there within this system. And I hope that we're able to do that through the podcast, you know, and the things that we're able to do. So
yeah, it's fun. I mean, we really enjoy it. I
made a lot of good friends through it. I mean, I'm telling you, the community that has been created over the last 5 years or however long it's been, these are some of my best friends in the world I talk to daily. You know what I mean? So it's been cool.
Yeah. So speaking of podcasts, I'm pretty darn new at this. So would you guys have any like special tips for someone like me who's new at a podcast, who's just starting out and would like to see their community grow as well?
Well, you know, I would say that, you know, you probably, and I think I've listened to some stuff you've done and you've done a good job. I think you got to find a little bit of a niche with it, like how you're going to approach it. And then I think you always have to keep in mind that you're using it to pay it forward to other coaches. And then in the end, I think Tony would agree. I mean, we get just as much out of it in our own personal coaching growth as anything. And I think as long as you keep those things in mind, then I think you'll be fine.
No, I agree with Coach 100%. I mean, at the beginning though, you're not going to, I don't know, you got to put the work in, right? Like, so, and you just take it one project at a time, one podcast at a time, you know what I mean? And then over time, it's going to like develop into kind of what you want it to be. What's funny is when me and Coach first started, we're like, you know what, we're going to try this. We're just a bunch of high school football coaches or whatever, and that are got a lot of free time and just can't get enough talking triple option football. That was kind of our niche.
Yeah.
And so we would just invite our buddies on, or we would invite a coach that we know or whatever, and we wanted to talk about it, something in particular we wanted to learn about. And so it was just easy, right? Don't they say that do something that you love and it's never work, something like that.
Yep.
And that's kind of the thing behind it. This isn't work for us. It's something that we really enjoy. But the method that we take is like, when we first started, we were like, all right, how many games are in a football season? 10, right? Let's make it a goal. Let's make it a goal to have 10 podcasts.
Yeah.
At the end of it, we'll look back and be like, you know what? This was terrible. This was no fun. This was hard work, more work than it was worth. Or, hey, let's keep continuing. And so that's kind of what we do is we take it 10 podcasts at a time. And we don't always get to 10 because we're busy, but we try to take that approach. And then, I don't know, we're like on season 5, I think. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
And we just fit it in with our normal lives as we can and have fun with it. That's Coach McLeod said it all. We try to have fun with it,
Yeah.
All right. Well, I really appreciate those tips, and I'm going to take those to heart. So here on this podcast, we talk a lot about college football. Some of the other episodes that we've done already are what I call the program profiles. And like the idea behind it was, let's say it's kind of like an after practice in the coach's office, and you're just talking to your other coaching buddies and you're talking about why you think a college team is good or why are they bad, stuff like that. That was the idea behind this whole podcast, how it started. And so we talk a lot about like who our favorite college teams are. And so I'd like to kind of get your guys' opinion as well. What are your favorite college teams to root for, whether or not they're an option team?
Well, number one for me is Clemson, and then everybody that runs the option after that. So, I look, I mean, I don't know. I think last Saturday it was Army, Citadel, Georgia Southern. I mean, the list went on. I mean, I think I just kept clicking them off, So and rounded out with a nice Clemson victory over Wake. So I had a pretty good Saturday, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, it's so funny. Like when I was a young man, I used to be so mad at people that would have multiple teams. I was like, this is my only team. I grew up like a Florida State fan. You can only have one team. But now that I'm into this world, like Coach said, man, it's like if you run triple option, we're rooting for you. You know what I mean? So all the academies, and even we like some of the gun teams, that like Georgia Southern, you know what I mean? Old New Mexico, we root for those guys too.
Davidson.
Who else, Coach? Even
Washington Lee and William Penn and Bethel, man, all them and Springfield, all them guys, man.
Yeah, all the different levels, from Division I all the way to D3, NAIA. Because we get to interact with those coaches through the podcast and through going and visiting clinics and stuff like that. I got the little Harding hat on. There you go. Got to go to a little clinic, and those guys are great to us, and we root for them, man. They all have a similar philosophy. You know what I mean? And so we definitely root for all those guys.
All right. We recently had an episode. It was released, I believe, last week. The title was Teams or College Teams That Should Be Running Triple Option.
Yeah.
And I put out a bunch of, questions on Twitter to try to promote it, being like, what teams do you guys think should run triple option? And I got lots of different answers. I got lots of people saying this is a dumb question. They shouldn't be running option or other things like that. But one of the questions that we talked about is, what would it take for doesn't even have to be a top-notch program, but a Power 5 program? What would it take for them to double down and say, okay, we're going to hire an option guy, right? And are they afraid to do it at this point? What do you guys think?
So we're talking under center, right? Under center, triple option, double slot kind of deal.
Old school, yep. Maybe like a Paul Johnson type, Paul Johnson. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're politicking for that to happen. You know what I mean? I think Coach Niemont Navy was in a running for BYU or Arizona or something like that. I mean, they just didn't pull the trigger. These schools are foolish, man. If they want to just line up and lose a bunch of games every year in the shotgun spread because of recruiting or whatever, or you want to win ball games. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, the academies, Coach, correct me if I'm not saying this right, but like over the last 2 years, like all the academies have won 10 games, right, or more, right? And they've all won bowl games, and so they don't get near the talent that these Power 5 schools do. But man, can you imagine if you had super talented kids running this triple option? It would be just as successful as the other offenses that you see. No doubt about that.
Yeah, I would just add, I mean, I personally think that, Coach Johnson created some history at Georgia Tech. I mean, some validity with it, some historical validity. I mean, they did well. And I think that, when you look at, like Tony mentioned, right? So you got Navy beats Kansas State in the bowl game, right? And, Air Force wins their bowl game and against Power 5 schools, right? And I mean, if you can beat a Power 5 school, then you can run the offense in a Power 5 situation. You know what I mean? So, I think that there's a lot of pressure. It's big business, right? And I think it takes a whole athletic department, meaning athletic director, head coach, the whole shot, to be able to sell it to the fan base to make sure they don't lose the donations and the fannies in the seat, because ultimately that's what drives it, right? But I think there's enough, like I said, historical success at a Power 5 already to prove that you can win and be successful. So it's a good question. It's a fair question to ask, for sure.
I think there's one school that always seems to come up in that conversation, and it's one that I always mention, and I think it's Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I think that's a team. It's a candidate because they're not getting the top SEC prospects. They are their academics are very high, so you're not going to get some kids because of that. And honestly, they haven't had a lot of success recently. When's the last time Vanderbilt's won a bowl game or even been to a bowl game or even come close to winning the SEC East, not less just the SEC? So that was a candidate that I keep bringing up. So let's talk some X's and O's. What style option are you guys running right now? So if you had to kind of describe your offense, is it more of a Paul Johnson style? I know Coach Rodriguez, you're a little bit different situation right now. Is it more maybe like an Army where it's almost like a blend of wing tee option or the spread? What are you guys running right now?
Well, we're like Army. And I think, if you research where I'm at right now, they've been wing tee for a lot of years and done very well. So we just blended it a little bit, together a couple years ago, and it's been fun. I enjoy it. But we're more like Army than anything else right now. So.
I'd say I came up like learning the wishbone, when I was at East Bay High School there. That's kind of what I cut my teeth on. And then as I started to learn on my own, the flex bone, I studied probably what most people do, Paul Johnson, try to look up every playbook I could on Paul Johnson, everything I could get my hands on. And so I think you talk about trees, coaching trees, right? I think a lot of guys have come off of the Paul Johnson tree, right? I haven't studied Fisher DeBerry, a whole lot, but that stuff's super intriguing to me. I want to get into that a little bit more. But I made a list here of schools, and this is probably an old list, of schools that are out there currently running the triple in some facet. But, we got Army, Air Force, and Navy, right? Those are the big dogs, the academies, right? But then you got like Kennesaw State, Citadel. Coach mentioned Davidson, Furman, Wofford, Georgia Southern, right? Mm-hmm. Those are all big-time schools that all run it. We all look up to. And then you have Harding. Harding's probably the best school out there running the triple option, in my opinion. Coach's opinion probably too. They're so good at what they do and how they practice, and those coaches are awesome. And Eastern New Mexico, Kelly Lee over there, man, he throws the ball around. In the triple option, they get pegged for not throwing the ball around. But Kelly Lee over there, they whip it around. He's the best at the passing game. Yep. With that flex bone offense. I'd love to see him get an opportunity somewhere for sure. Any of these coaches at any of these schools I'm mentioning, you know what I mean? They're have a track record. They're proven. They're winning games on the level that they're on. I'd love to see them get an opportunity at a bigger time school. Old Ferris State, right? They're doing success. They're successful every year. I know they're not under center flex bone, but they have roots there. You know what I mean? That's kind of where their offense kind of began. And there's a lot of successful college teams out there for sure. But we probably use them all, and that's no joke.
I think a couple years ago, I fell in love with New Mexico and the spread option that they were running.
Yeah.
And they seemed to be close to making it to bowl eligibility pretty much every year they were doing it. And then they decided, we're just going to go cookie cutter spread. And 2 games a year maybe is what they've been winning.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
You mentioned Vanderbilt earlier. I mean, when DiNardo was there, now they ran some option stuff at Vandy. But obviously they weren't wholesale under center flex bone, but there's some history there. I don't know if Vanderbilt fans would like to remember it, but they have done some of it. But I mean, in my past as a head coach, we were Paul Johnson or Navy, whatever you want to call it, right? Harding, we were under center flex bone, traditional stuff. So it's only been the last 3 or 4 years, I guess, that I've been blended like Army is. So,
what are some of your guys' favorite plays and concepts in the option offense?
Yeah, that's easy. Base 5, man. Inside veer, right? Mid double, mid triple, toss, zone dive. I mean, get really good at that stuff. And then, if you need a way to get the A back, you got, if you've got a good A back of 1 year, you find ways to get him the ball, like on a jet or like we talked to Citadel guys, a sniper play or hand back. And if you got a good fullback, B back guy, you might run trap or belly or that we call it down, whatever. It just depends, right? If you got a good receiver, you can whip the ball around. So
don't forget outside veer.
Yeah, so for me, that's a tag, but there are a lot of people that just run outside veer and run it well. Matter of fact, Springfield College is a really good outside veer team.
I forgot to mention them. They're good.
Really good.
Yeah, really good.
And for me, it's 3 separate meshes, right? Which I don't mind using. Some people don't, but anyway, I guess I didn't leave any stone unturned there, did I?
No,
all of them.
That's about all of them. You know what I mean? But it takes a lot of practice and a lot of reps, and let your kids get good at it. Rep. Execution. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's about all you need. You know what I mean? You don't need 100 plays. You know what I mean? But within those plays that he mentioned, the Big Five coach said that the Big Five he would recommend to a team to if they're just starting to install it. But you got to learn the tags, man, and how to adjust that play into the different defenses. That's the key. So that this offense, the triple option, man, it's is an intellectual offense. You know what I mean? I mean, you really do play chess. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where maybe the spread, you just line up and you're dependent on your athletes, just getting the ball to, what's that overused phrase is getting your athlete the ball in space. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
spread them out in space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the, I don't know, that in the triple option, it's a little bit more on the coach, you know what I mean, to make, you got to understand what's going on. You got to be intuitive, you know what I mean? So that's what I really enjoy about it. It's not something, once you get into it and you start learning about it, you think everybody knows what you know, but you really don't realize other people ain't learning or studying like you're, studying and learning. It's just put you on a different level, I guess, at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, you guys mentioned inside and outside veer. I know this isn't a question. I'm just adding it on the fly here. Some of our listeners might not know the difference. What are the major differences between an inside veer and an outside veer?
Well, Scotty Dietrich's going to have a problem with my answer. But so for us, inside veer, the aiming point of the fullback or B-back's inside hip of the play side guard. Okay. And then for outside veer, for us, his aiming point is the inside hip of the tackle. Okay. So that's how we differentiate the two plays. All right. And obviously the quarterback's mesh has got to be different, right? So it's a different step mesh for inside veer as opposed to outside veer. But buddy of ours has the same veer track for both. So, he'll get a kick out of this. But
yeah. I think to somebody who has probably no clue of the triple option, just getting started, maybe like if you look at football just from basics, and the hit chart, the old wing T hit chart, you know what I mean? You got up the middle, off tackle, and the perimeter or outside, you know what I mean? And so I think maybe the inside veer might be a B gap hitter, or outside veer would be more of an off tackle, maybe C gap area. You know what I mean? That for the dive phase of it, and then everybody loves the triple for the triple phase of it, right? The three phases of it, right? So, but you really got to focus on the dive part, get that blocked up right before you worry about the rest of it. You know what I mean? So, I guess just trying to help out a little bit.
Yeah, and also it gives you ability to change who you're reading as your dive key, and that helps a lot too, because it can be an answer to a problem in one or the other, right? So if you're having inside veer issue, you can be able to go to outside veer and vice versa. So, there's some nuances to it for sure. But I think Tony's right? In the basics, one hits in B, one hits in C/D. So,
yeah.
Obviously, the triple option is no longer in vogue, right? It's no longer the offense out there. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult to sell. So how do you guys sell this offense to different people? How do you sell it to the players? How do you sell it to parents who can oftentimes be the worst person to try to sell things to? And how do you sell it to the community as a whole?
Well, I think it's a little easier than people think. I think if you look at what the offense does as a whole for your players, and then you're able to explain those things into chunks, pieces, for example, the unselfishness, the brotherhood, the team components, it makes you a better teacher as a coach, okay, because you have to know the details of the offense. And I think the accountability and responsibility, team, player to player, coach to player, I think those things make it an easy sell, honestly. And I think Tony would agree. We've had kids, all over the place playing in college from this offense. So, I think if you're able to communicate what it brings to the table for the families and, provide some data to prove to back that up. And again, data, I mean, like, hey, think about this team or think about this coach, because there's some coaches they'll recognize, right, when you're talking to them. And I think from a community standpoint, I think it gives them something to hang their hat on, right? Like, you're not changing every year. You're not, you can adapt to who you have pretty easily. And I think it develops a mentality for the community to kind of rally around. So I don't think it's that difficult. So
right. I think it just depends.
I'm in it. So
yeah, it depends on the stakeholder that we're talking about. You know what I mean? Like if it's an administrator and they have a program that historically is bad, you know what I mean? This is the perfect offense for you, in my opinion. You know what I mean? It's going to give you an advantage. It's going to give you a chance to compete. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, particularly like in the day and age of recruiting at high school level, you know what I mean? Where, you know, kids are so fast to leave you, you know what I mean? You kind of dealt with the cards, or you deal with the cards that you're dealt, right? And so this gives you a chance to win. It really does. If you're a defensive coordinator, you're going to love if your offense is running this offense. I'll tell you that. It's all about ball control and eating that clock up. You damn sure don't want me out there running, 3 plays and you're back on the field, you know what I mean, whipping the ball around, and every incomplete pass is, stopping that clock, or, more turnovers, you know what I mean? You're not going to appreciate that. So defensive coordinators are our best friends usually. If we're on the team with them, if they're on the opposing team, they probably hate us, because that's probably the worst team to scheme for. You know what I mean? That gives them the nightmares. They can't sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
But like Coach was saying about as far as the players go, we can point to a lot of examples. I think they're mostly worried about how I can't get to college in this offense, and that's just not true. You know what I mean? Like I'll point to 2 examples real quick. Not that I'm bragging or boasting or anything like that, but I was watching college football just last night. I think it was a replay. Western Kentucky was playing on TV, and daggum starting running back, Gage Walker, number 5, he played for me in the flex bone offense, and they were able to see his talent, and he played DB also, and they were able to see that he was an athlete within that offense, and he's playing college football on ESPN right now. And then starting cornerback for USF, KJ Sales. He played for me in the flex bone. And, I'm sure Coach has got a bunch of them too that he can name. But, you just try to share the positives with these kids about, hey, listen, if you're an athlete, you're going to make it. You know what I mean? We're going to put you in a position where you get the ball in your hands. I always tell a story about this kid we had in Zephyr Hills when I coached at Zephyr Hills one year. He was a receiver. When I first got there, they were running a spread offense. I think he had, 8 touchdowns the year before. He was like the 5th fastest kid in the state of Florida or something like that, right? Now I'm thinking as a coach, man, I want that dude with the ball in his hand. That guy's going to help us win, right? I'm going to look like a smart coach. We had only 12 carries the year before. So we put him at quarterback. Anyway, he ended up getting over 100 touches, you know what I mean, at quarterback, 24 touchdowns. He ends up going to Kent State on a full ride scholarship playing. I think he played DB or something too, you know what I mean? But it didn't matter. He was able to showcase his talent and within that offense. The coach named some plays earlier, man. If you got some special kids at the slot position or wherever you got them, there's plays in this offense you can put the ball in their hand and let them showcase their talent. And the old saying is, if you're good and you got the talent, they'll come get you. That's so true. It just is. You know what I mean? You ain't got to have 25 hitch routes on a highlight tape. You know what I mean? You want the ball in your hand, helping your team win, making a difference, and that's how you that's how you get noticed. Yep. I'm off my soapbox.
Hey, that's fine. That's why we're here. So you kind of mentioned ball control offense and how defensive coordinators on that team love it. One of the things that a lot of naysayers will say about the triple option, and they say it about offenses like the wing T or the single wing, they say, well, if you're down by 20 points, you're not going to come back in that type of offense. Or if it's 3rd and 12, what are you going to play if you can't throw the ball? What do you say to those types of coaches when they come up with that? Because it seems that's a pretty common thing for people to say about these offenses.
I'd tell them to go watch Eastern New Mexico. They'll put a clinic on for in your passing game out of this offense, and they're not scared to throw a screen or throw an intermediate curl route, and shuffle read, and and I think that, 3rd and 12, you know what I mean? Find me an offense that can convert that on a regular basis. That's kind of where I'm at with it, right? But I think the offense allows you to stay on schedule.
That's right.
A lot more. It allows you to kind of to come into a series and say, listen, we're going to make this a 4-down at a clip series, and we're going to hopefully allow the kids to be successful with it. So look, 3rd and 12 run trap, you might get it all, you know what I mean? So but like I said, there's plenty of opportunity to throw the ball. Like we got another buddy out in Arizona. He's a big run and shoot guy, right? And I mean,
that's right.
They shred people running choice and go and slide and and out of a flex bone look. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's just all in how you approach it, how you can what what you can teach. But as far as long yardage goes, I haven't found anything that's really good in that down distance.
It's something hard to explain because we're sick individuals that love this offense. So what I mean by that is, if midline is working, I will wear you out running that 30 times, and I don't mind calling it over and over and over. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so flex bone triple option guys are patient, you know what I mean? And that's what makes us, different from everybody else. A lot of guys get bored and they want to move on, and I got 25 plays on my script, I got to call all 25. Well, no, you don't. You know what I mean? We might have 20 different variations of midline, but we're going to run midline until the cows come home if it's working. You know what I mean? That's just the reality of it. This is kind of cool. So we played a team last week. We're, like I was mentioning, we're 3 games into the season. And we're known as the flex bone, single wing, right, type team, right? And we threw 3 touchdowns last week. So it was on the same daggum switch pass, you know what I mean? And we had over 100-something yards, almost 200 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. And we only threw the ball like 7 times or something, you know what I mean? It's crazy. So in this offense, when you throw the ball, we want to throw the ball now. We want to throw it, right? But the way that we approach the pass game is it's an answer. Right? Why do we run midline? Because it's an answer to the way the defense is lined up, right? Why do we call a certain tag? It's an answer, right? The pass game is an answer. So when the secondary is coming up and they're so occupied by the run, you know what I mean? They're worried about, getting gashed in the run. Nobody's playing deep, and that's when you hit them over the top. And we don't just throw hitch routes, like I was mentioning earlier. We don't just throw hitch routes for 5 yards. Guys in this offense, they throw home runs. You know what I mean? So when we throw the ball, it's going to be a home run touchdown, guaranteed. You know what I mean? So I would argue that our passing game is more explosive than any other offense out there. In my opinion.
What are some of y'all's favorite passing concepts in this offense?
Switch from last week, man. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime you can run a route combination that complements your base blocking scheme, for that week, it's really beneficial. It's tough, right? When you're, let's just say switch, for example, like Tony brought up, right? You're cracking your arc, and all of a sudden you're running skinny post wheel, but it looks like crack arc. You know what I mean? And it's hard. It's hard to defend that. As someone who's gotten burnt plenty on it. I can assure you, it's hard. So, I like personally, I like the stuff that kind of challenges the defense based on what I think they've practiced all week, right? So, if we're getting a lot of 3-2 exchange, we like to run it out in the vertical, if we're getting too high, we like to switch it, like Tony said, if you're getting a lot of rotation, you want to throw a backside post. I just think, you kind of take what they're giving you based on how they're going to defend you. And
that's the thing, Coach. It's like it don't have to be complicated, right? Like it can be super basic, because when you call it, it's going to be wide open. It just will be. You know what I mean? Because you're so run dominant. You know what I mean? And it's going to be a home run. Like, we're talking about switch. It's just the old 4 verticals. Everybody's going deep, and then you just switching lanes. I mean, that's as easy as it gets off of your play action, for the week. And you can make it look many different ways, off of inside veer, off of rocket, off of all kind of stuff. Yeah. I know Coach will agree with me on this. Boots are fun, man. You know, every week, you know, you want to come up with some kind of different variation of your boots off your good plays too. I mean, those are easy plays. You know, we're not spending a whole lot of time pass pro, you know, kick stepping, you know, trying to make a pocket for the quarter. We ain't doing that. You know what I mean? We're coming off of a play action, dropping back, getting the ball out. It's wide open. You know what I mean? The quarterback ain't got to pitch a tent back there and hang out. You know what I mean? So it's just a different approach to the pass game. You know, your O linemen are more low hat, aggressive, widening the edge. You know what I mean? So it's just a whole different deal in the pass game versus a spread team, I would say. And then boots, you really don't need much protection. You just need flow, right? You might need an edge or something, or unless it's naked or something like that. But boots is one of the easiest pass concepts in football, in my opinion. You know, and it's a real RPO, right, Coach?
Yeah. Hey, 1, 2, 3, run.
Get you some.
That's right.
All right, guys, I appreciate you coming out, and I'm not going to take up too much more of your time tonight, but I'm going to have one last question for you guys. It's a kind of a final thoughts question. You know, Coach Rodriguez, you are playing football right now, but a lot of us out here aren't. So what kind of words of wisdom would you guys have for all of our listeners out there?
Well, I would say that, you know, for those of us that aren't, right? Like, I've seen guys do some incredibly innovative stuff with Zoom, with Microsoft Teams, doing book studies and meeting with kids. And I just would encourage guys that I know are, you know, staring at college football playing and things like that. And I would just encourage those guys to keep doing what they're doing. They're making a difference, even though they may not feel that way, right? Because you can't see, touch, feel your kids right now. But you're making a difference. Keep chopping wood and carrying water, and stay positive, man. I really have. I've seen some really cool stuff, and I've seen some guys really think outside the box to try to reach the kids, and that's what it's about. I mean, most of us are teachers, right? And coaching's teaching, and we just flat care about our kids. And I would just say that I want to recognize, you know, I'm not going to name any names because singling one guy is not going to help. But, you know, there's just been some great stuff I've seen over the last 5 or 6 months with guys, and I just have been impressed. And I would just say I encourage you to keep doing it. And I know it's not easy, but you're making a difference even though you don't know it. So.
Yeah. I'm not sure what I could say much more, but that's perfect there. But we had a staff come this week down from North Carolina. Their season got canceled, and so they're doing all they can. And there's a lot of stuff out there just since March, man, since this thing's been going on, where you can better yourself as a coach. So take the opportunity, man. If you can get on a Zoom or get in a little community of a Telegram or just a group of coaches. Just do all you can to improve your craft and become a better coach, man. If you can take a week and go visit somewhere that's playing ball, try to go do that if you can. I mean, these guys came down. They're sitting in our meetings and watching practice, and they even they're going to come to the game on Friday. That's a pretty unique opportunity. I think, Coach McLeod, you said this maybe. Man, how cool is it going to be in the spring if colleges – we normally go as high school coaches to go visit colleges in the spring. How cool is it going to be to go and visit when they're actually like in season playing or whatever, like, and see them like legit at practice, going through it all and drilling it. And you're seeing it. It's just a different deal. I got to go to Harding, like I was mentioned back in February, and it's like they were doing spring ball and getting to see the kids running the plays and doing their drills in practice and visit the coaches. It just takes it to another level. So just take advantage of the opportunities that you have out there. To improve yourself while you got this time.
Yeah, go listen to this podcast.
Yeah, go listen to this podcast, man.
Right.
Yeah, listen to this podcast and to your podcast as well, the Meshpoint Podcast. I am quickly becoming a big fan of you guys. So, coaches, thank you one last time for coming out. And this is Coach Sheffer signing off.